We're back here at the Wanamaker Tulsa Arms Show. I'm here with Jim Supica, director of the NRA Museums. And Jim, we're out here together again, you, my friend, and myself, doing some special Curator's Corners. You told us to come on out if we'd like to, because you're going to be here, and I always come when I can, because there's treasures out here that just boggle the mind, quite frankly.
Well, we always have a great time, and we always see some incredibly cool guns.
So just if you're just joining us, this is our second segment from here. We've got some another firearm for the National Firearms Museums. We also have some firearms from around here for some of the greatest, I guess, what are they, auction houses, brokers, collectors.
Private collectors.
There's just
incredible things walk in.
Yeah, Jim knows all of them. He walks around here like, Inspector Clouseau finding guns. And then we have some other surprises for you. So you definitely want to check every one of these upcoming segments of Curator's Corner. So this is the second firearm that you brought from the NRA Museums. Tell us what we have here.
Well, this is a little Smith & Wesson top break revolver. These were incredibly popular. Smith & Wesson introduced the concept right in 1870, and they break open. Very advanced revolver for the time. They automatically eject the empty cartridges. The rear face of the cylinder is open for a fast reload. You got to consider these were competing against a bunch of little solid frame revolvers where you had to poke out each empty cartridge.
Oh.
So a very advanced concept for the time, the general top break design, and very popular 1870 well into the early 20th centuries. This particular one is a safety hammerless. Now that's the official name of it. They also called it a new departure because it was an unusual design for the time. And you can see how it got those names. Now it's not really hammerless, but the hammer is entirely enclosed by the frame. So it makes it very snag-free. It's double action only, which means it takes that heavy trigger pull to fire, kind of a safety feature. And Smith & Wesson added an additional feature on the back, and that is a grip safety.
Right.
So you have to take a firm grip on that gun to be able to fire it. That was a safety feature that they marketed very heavily and was very effective for them. And of course that enclosed hammer, the hammerless design, still is incredibly popular on solid frame swing out cylinder J-frame Smith & Wessons today. Great little concealed carry handgun. A lot of people like the little J-frame revolvers. So this is kind of the granddaddy of the Smith & Wesson concealed carry revolvers. Now this one has something special going for it. You might notice it's a fancy gun.
It is a very fancy looking gun, Jim.
It's got beautiful light engraving. It's got factory pearl grips with the logo medallion on it.
And a lot of gold going on there
too.
Yeah,
gold wash, very flashy, but kind of tasteful flashy.
Yes,
It's got gold wash in the flutes and the barrel rib area. If you look very close in the engraving on this side, you will see a gentleman with a mustache and a Stetson on horseback with a revolver. Presumably he's at Kettle Hill or San Juan Hill in the Spanish-American War.
I think I know who you're talking about.
This gun is attributed to Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
And it's one of those guns that is not airtight provenance, but we got it nailed down pretty good. I think it's most likely was Roosevelt's. He took it with him when he went to South America to explore the River of Doubt after his presidency. And it was a trip that nearly killed him. Broke his health. At one point, he was begging the expedition to leave him and go on, so they could. They survived. Just a brutally tough expedition. But he took this with him, presented it to a prominent South American family that was related to Spanish royalty, and they passed it down within the family along with that story. So that's the story behind this gun. It seems very, very plausible and just a beautiful little gun. So something we're very, very glad to have on exhibit. And we've got a very strong Theodore Roosevelt presence in both of our large museums. At the NRA National Sporting Arms Museum, which is where I just brought this from, we're going to ship this to another couple of museums to let them show it. But there is the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Room on the top floor. It's at the NRA National Sporting Arms Museum at Bass Pro Shops in Springfield, Missouri. And up there, we've got about 4 of Roosevelt's guns owned by one of his sons, a couple of his best friends. and tell the story of conservation in America. And Theodore Roosevelt certainly was the grandfather of the conservation and responsible management of wildlife movement in the United States. So it's important to us to tell that story. It's important to work for conservation. Bass Pro has been very supportive and very enthusiastic about presenting that story in this beautiful new museum. Now, the Fairfax Museum at NRA headquarters, the National Firearms Museum, we have a spectacular temporary display. So if people want to see this, they need to get out and see it.
Yes.
Theodore Roosevelt's home place, Sagamore Hill, with the National Park Service, called us up. They were going to renovate Roosevelt's home for the first time since he moved out of it. And they called us up and they said, we will loan you whatever you want. Come up and pick what you would like to see. So, of course, Phil Schreier and I went up. All the guns, of course, but a lot of great art, a lot of great artifacts. Right now we have on display an actual Gatling gun used by the Rough Riders at San Juan Hill, an actual Colt potato digger machine gun used in support of the Rough Riders at San Juan Hill. Great artifacts for Theodore Roosevelt. If people want to see that, they need to get out and see it now.
Excellent. So get to the museums if you can. How do you get it online?
Online, it's at nramuseums.com. They're pictured on there with all the great stories for all three of our museums.
But you need to get to the museums if you can.
Yeah, you really
got to see this stuff up close. Jim, thank you so much for another great segment here in Tulsa. The Curator's Corner will be back with more next week here on Sportsman Channel, so make sure you tune in. Thank you.